I don't necessarily feel like we have to end things. I love it when just the music kicks in at like a really good, poignant sentence.
Okay.
And you had a number
Excellent.
of those, so.
Oh, thanks. I'm a walking
Poignant
I'm a
sentence.
walking tweet. No, I feel like I've written a couple things that I thought, man, that was really good. If somebody famous had tweeted this, it would have blown up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
People
like
would
the
be
only
sharing
difference
that.
between the, yeah. The only difference in the content, or the only difference between it, like just sitting there and getting like one heart on Twitter and like blowing up and being retweeted millions of times, is that the fact that it was said by me.
Yeah.
I'm the one that held that truth back.
I can imagine your quote being on like a faded image of a pond or something, and somebody's encouraging word for the day.
Yes.
Josh Veach is one of our co-directors, and he is here to tell us how 2020 ended up for Go Shout Love. And he's also here to share some exciting news about the future. I'm Seth Carnell, and this is the Go Shout Love podcast. Hey, so how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It feels like it kind of flew by, but it was good. I ate several rounds of Thanksgiving meal, which I'm a huge fan of. I think we should have Thanksgiving meals on a regular basis.
I agree. Who does the majority of the cooking?
In this case, we were able to get together with my parents. They're local and they keep a small circle, as do we. And so we were able to get together with my parents. And so my mom, my blessed mother, did most of the Thanksgiving prep, and it was delightful and delicious.
In the bubble, as it were.
Yes. What about you? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Also short in the bubble. We had basically just my wife's brother over and her grandparents, who we actually live with.
So full bubble.
Basically full bubble. Yeah. But so when the pandemic hit, I decided I needed a hobby. And one of the hobbies I started was offset smoking for meats.
Okay.
And so I did the turkey this year.
How did it turn out?
It was the best turkey I've ever had. It was so good. It was not easy, very difficult. And
does everyone else agree that it was the best turkey they've ever had?
At least that's what they're telling me. I mean,
well,
I don't know.
they love you.
They didn't use the phrase "best they'd ever had," but they said really, really good.
This was an acceptable turkey.
It was an acceptable turkey.
I saw the pictures. The pictures looked really good.
Yeah. No, they were great. They were great. It was good. I agree. Thanksgiving.
So it's like one of the proudest moments in your life. You have your kids, your wedding, your kids, and your first smoked turkey.
Yeah, top 3 right there.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
Except
in that order.
And you're bundling your kids into one. So that
Correct. Along the lines of kind of the pandemic, I'm really curious, how has Go Shout Love done in 2020? I know there's a lot of challenges, and things looked very different for everybody across the board. We weren't able to meet with families in person. Yeah, just tell us, what's 2020 been like?
You know, it has been a test of faith for us, I think, because I'm going to be honest. When we actually had just gotten back, you and I, from a trip when we were coming back from Southern California, meeting Shiloh's family, when it all was just when we booked the flight, it was like a non-issue. Like there was really nothing going on. And then by the time we were getting back, it was like everything was starting to shut down. And
I remember that the flight back was not crowded at all. Like people kind of already had canceled flights.
Yeah, it was starting to get to that point. Yeah. And so, when we got back, we actually ended up, we were originally going to feature a family in April, but we just didn't know what to expect from sales. It was a different time. And so that was the month that we were able to partner with Laughing at My Nightmare, the nonprofit, with Shane Burkall. And that was great. And it gave us an opportunity to kind of catch our bearings and see what was the right thing to do. But so then we relaunched the next month. And it was, we just had an incredible month after that. And, part of that is, every family is different. And, the success of our month, and when I mean success, I mean total sales, which then impacts how much we're able to give away, obviously, is totally driven by how connected families are. And if families, have a network of supporters and people that can rally around them, then, we have big months. And we were fortunate that first month back, with Molly was a huge month. And so that was really great. And so that got us back on a good start. And we after that, we did have to shift and not get to meet families. But we've pivoted that. We're trying to think of new ways of how do we help people engage? Because I do think it takes away from the experience a little bit. I know it takes away from the experience for me, probably for you too.
Yeah, definitely.
On the back end, we don't get to connect with the families quite as much as we do when we meet them in person. And I think that comes out, that limits us a little bit in how we communicate through the storytelling and the video, but you've done a great job of making that the best it can be from a virtual standpoint. So the families now are sending in videos and photos, and you're putting together the video from that. And then we record them online for the podcast, which is totally great. That's what we're doing today. And so, that's all been good. I think what, at the end of the day, I'm super grateful because in March, when all this was starting to hit, I really did have a fear of like, what does this mean for Go Shout Love? Because we've been in we're coming off of a series of years from an economic standpoint in our country that were strong, and people had discretionary income, and then we're hitting this mark that's unprecedented in a lot of ways. And I know that's a word that everybody's tired of hearing, but when you look at even the financial piece, it is that. And so I was concerned about, what does this look like for a small business that does graphic tees, but seeing people show up continually throughout the month. And we actually have seen an increase in subscribers since March.
That's amazing and crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had some that we've lost, and, we get emails about, hey, our income looks different now. We've had job changes or lost a job. And that's heartbreaking. Totally get it. And we recognize that that's the reality for a lot of people right now. And it's weird in a certain way. It's weird to market in an environment like that. But at the end of the day, and to go back to what I was saying, I'm grateful because what this year has taught me is that people have bought in. People that support Go Shout Love recognize that they're buying more than a t-shirt. They are totally bought into the fact that they, through their purchase, through their sharing on social media, they are impacting the lives of these families, the lives of these kids on rare medical journeys. And I've been incredibly grateful and proud of our community for that. And so while we're a little bit, I think we're a little bit down where we were last year overall. And I do think part of that has been pandemic driven.
How could it not?
Right. We're still giving away over $60,000 this year. And so, that's something I think that we can all be proud of. And if you're listening and you made a purchase or a donation throughout the year, thank you. You made that happen. If you are listening and you're a monthly subscriber, a huge thank you to you because you are the backbone. You're the ones that make it work month after month and support these families. And we're incredibly grateful for that. And that's 2020 in a summary.
I know from a storytelling standpoint that attempting to even attack these families' stories virtually has been extremely difficult. You feel a disconnect when you're watching them on a screen or talking them on to a podcast conversation without them physically there. So the fact that people still engaged into these families and the families opened up in their conversations, I thought there would be a little bit more hesitation, but the conversations were still very riveting. Of course, I love to shoot footage in person, but watching these iPhone videos come in and these families really trying to show people who these kids are was still incredible. Now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I miss it completely. I miss visiting these families and putting their stories together in person. But I was really impressed with how it managed to keep steady. And I can't really wait to get past 2020, obviously. We've weathered that storm. Paint a picture of 2021. What are we looking for Go Shout Love?
Well, I think in a lot of ways we're still really heavy in the pandemic. And while we are seeing positive things on the vaccine front, and other things like that, I don't anticipate we're in a unique position in that we need to be very careful when we travel, and make sure that we're safe. For the families that we meet are oftentimes high risk. And so, one of the things that I think is going to stay the same, at least for a while, is that we're going to continue to be virtual. And so we're going to try to maintain the best that we can, and continue to do what we're doing, for as many families as we can. And part of that, that piece of it specifically, is why we're making some shifts and some changes in 2021. And one of those is launching a new program called Shout Your Story. And so, Go Shout Love relaunched again in July of 2018. And one of the things that has really not bothered me, but has been a limitation for Go Shout Love is the amount of families that we're able to help and support is limited by our current structure, which is great because it's intimate. We get to meet these families. We get to leverage our followers on social media and tell their story and do all of those things. And that's incredibly valuable for these families. I truly believe that. But what we've found is that there are a lot of families that we get nominated and we aren't able to help. And so we want to figure out how can we help more families. And so one of the things that we are moving to do is launch a new program called Shout Your Story, which is basically going to give families the tools and resources they need to leverage their platform to effectively tell their story, and then leverage us as the back end for the apparel piece. And so the idea is that basically families can run their own campaigns and still use our apparel to shout love for their family and raise money for their kids. But we're going to give them the resources. We're going to give them a social media playbook that says, here's how you can shout love for your family, and kind of give them some tips on how to, really connect with their audience or their network of people on social media to say, hey, here's what's going on in our life. Here's the medical journey that our kids have been on. Here's what that means for us as a couple or as a single parent, or here are the emotional elements that we maybe often don't talk about, or, because what we find is that in a lot of these scenarios, families don't get super connected even to their own families. Like, there might be times where the families haven't been able to really communicate, hey, this is what we're really going through. And so we want to try to unlock that for as many families as possible. And that's the whole idea around Shout Your Story. So it will be a separate but connected piece of Go Shout Love.
That's really encouraging. I know that besides being able to help people with something financially, that Go Shout Love provides a therapeutic outlet. People who are just willing to listen, and then open up a door for a community to simply listen to what they're going through, and then to connect them to other people who aren't necessarily going through the same thing, but can relate to emotions and situations. Right. Being able to reach further with that with Go Shout Love, I'm sure you've been thinking about that for probably when we relaunched a couple of years ago. Has that kind of always been in the back of your mind?
Well, it's been in the back of my mind as a not a problem to solve, but as a tension to manage, knowing that we always want to be moving towards increasing our reach and our level of impact. And I've always felt that that's one of the kind of lids of our current structure, is that our current structure keeps us from helping as many people as we would like to. And so this is just an idea we're going to try, and hopefully it's successful. But we think it's worth trying because we see so many families that need the help and need the support that we aren't able we haven't been able to help. And so we hope this can be a wider net of support for people. And, so we'll see what happens, but that's in the works. So we don't have, if you're listening and that, maybe you're thinking of someone that has a child on a rare medical journey, maybe you've even nominated someone or you've nominated your own family and you haven't been featured yet. This is definitely for you. We're still going to continue the process of receiving nominations and having families featured and continue to do Go Shout Love as we've always done. This is going to be a completely separate program that families can participate in. And so if that's you, we're going to have some more information coming out. You can, if you would like to be notified when that is available, you can go to goshout.love/story. And you will be redirected to a form where you can put in your contact information and we will we'll send out that information when it's available. But we're still working out all the details of it, but we're really, really excited about what, this could mean for potentially helping other folks, other kids.
Yeah. So I want to touch on something that you just said. Shout Your Story is it's a new program. Separate, but related to what we call, consider the Go Shout Love program. How does that impact what we currently do with Go Shout Love? Does that change Go Shout Love at all?
It as it relates to what we do and how we communicate on our channels, it does not change Go Shout Love at all. We will continue to do the same things and the same work that we've been doing all along for Go Shout Love. What it does change is from the back end standpoint. Go Shout Love is officially going to become a nonprofit, which is a big deal. It's something that we've tossed around for a long time, and even when we were relaunching, we were trying to figure out, do we relaunch this as a business or as a nonprofit? And there's pros and cons to both. One of the biggest cons is the level of expense that goes into becoming a nonprofit and the time. And so we got to the point where we realized that our current structure, again, maintaining a business, even as a very charitable business, becomes difficult to do on a larger scale, trying to resource individuals and still try to stay in line with, maintaining manageable tax liabilities and all of those different things. So there's a ton there that are, I don't want to bore folks with, but it became the right time. Trying to get to the point where we can scale and help more families every month, it became the right time for us to be able to take on a little bit more of that piece from a charitable standpoint as a nonprofit. So that is one major thing that's changing, and our goal, our effective date for that as of right now is January 1. So that's exciting. So if you're an existing subscriber, that shouldn't change anything for you. You will continue to be, your subscription will continue. It's just going to go directly into the nonprofit instead of to Go Shout Love, the business entity that has been. So
a lot of business terms kind of underlining the overall vision of what Go Shout Love is kind of turning into, which is a really exciting thing. What do you kind of hope for? I know I didn't prepare you with that question, but I'm just kind of curious going into 2021. What would be, how would you like that year to play out?
My hope is authentic impact. And I know that's a vague response.
Actually, no, I love that answer because I've seen in traveling with you and traveling with Jess and the other people of the Go Shout Love staff, there is a genuine nature of just wanting to see people be reached into a community or grabbed into a community and to be helped and to allow their story to be allow their story to be shared. So when you say authentic, that's it. Sorry, I interrupted you altogether, but I don't want you to think that was not a good answer because that was exactly what I was hoping for.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that I can meet your expectations. But, because the natural personality that I have when you ask a question like that is I start to think of like, let's set goals. Let's, try to double the amount of money that we've given away, or double the amount of families we've been able to help, which all of those are great. Those are noble goals. And I don't think setting those types of goals is wrong. But what I've been living in a season, and, we joked about the business terms and all that, but I've been living in a season where there's a lot that has gone on the back end to try to get us ready for January 1, and a lot of logistical changes and things like that. And it's been a bit exhausting, if I can be honest.
Yeah.
And what I don't want to lose sight of is the families. And, I wrote, and we released on December 1st, just kind of an update on announcing, these items, and we sent it out to social media and to our email database and stuff. And, I gotta be honest, man, when I was writing part of that, like, especially the gratitude piece where we talk about the backyard that was updated for Maddie so that she could have the independence and freedom to walk herself out of the house and go down a ramp. And we talked about the money raised for Fletcher's vehicle that actually came just a week or two before their van needed repair. And, and we referenced Luna, who, her parents weren't sure what to expect. And she sent me an email that basically said, "I'm crying happy tears because this is more than we thought. And we're actually going to be able to start Luna in a new therapy that we've been saving for." Like, I kind of broke down a bit, and I'm in a good way. Because that's what we're about. Like, that impact for those families is why we exist. And so while I want to grow, and I want to see us be able to expand that and help other people, I want to make sure that for myself personally, for us as a brand, and for our whole team, that we stayed true to the cause and the authentic connection of, we're here for these families. And I'm confident we're going to. I don't fear that we're not. I was just reminded of how important and powerful that is, just yesterday.
Well, and with these families, kind of from when we meet them on, because you're right, it would be very easy to, if there's any like expansion or whatever, to miss out on what happens with these families or with these stories after their month. That's part of their story as a whole. So watching Maddie unveil that backyard I don't want anybody to miss out on that, because if you did have anything to do with the purchase that month, that's something that you contributed to. That
Absolutely.
Little girl's happiness is something that you participated in. And no matter how many families we impact in a finite period of time, I don't want that to be lost at all. That there's some goodness and you are participating in it. Yeah. Well, cool. I'm super excited, and extremely hopeful. And I love all the people involved with Go Shout Love, so that doesn't hurt at all. Yeah. Tell me about the final T-shirt of the year.
The final T-shirt is it's red for festive is the goal, and it says "Find rest in goodness." And every month, every year, we take December off from featuring a family. We do that because, one, families are busy and it's a hard time to try to coordinate that, but also because our team needs a little bit of a break. And it also gives us a little chance to raise some operating support, for Go Shout Love. And so we just, as we were thinking of designs for how do you wrap up the most memorable, I guess, can you say the most infamous year? If you're a Three Amigos fan, you hear that and you say infamous,
the most infamous,
more than famous. But how do you wrap up the year? And I think what a lot of people are after is just kind of some rest and some peace. And because there's no shortage of uncertainty, there's no shortage of stress for folks, and
indeed.
And we're in the same boat there. I mean, we feel that. And I know for sure that our families on Rare Medical Journeys, when they can't make it to regular appointments and things like that, like, yeah, they're feeling that stress too. And so, yeah, we thought recognizing that goodness and continuing to be committed to goodness and doing good, whether it's, being a monthly shouter or a one-time purchaser, or just being a great neighbor to your next door neighbor or whoever else, being committed to goodness is kind of a gateway, I think, to rest and to be able to really experience the peace that we can. I think there's positive outcomes and responses that come when we are committed to that. And so that's kind of the idea behind it, is to encourage people and invite people to find rest in goodness.
Which is a much needed word for a lot of people. I know it's one that I kind of need to hear. I need to take a little bit of rest from all the worries and troubles that 2020 brought, and staring down 2021, which will hopefully be a less eventful year, but we'll see.
Yeah. And I want to address something too that I meant to reference when kind of looking back on 2020, and I didn't. In addition to the pandemic, we saw some of the ugliness of our country that we've carried for many years, in the forms of racial tensions and racial discrimination. And, a lot of that came to the forefront, especially in May, I guess it was.
Yeah.
And, from a business standpoint, that's tough to manage from, like, how do you continue to try to sell shirts and push other people's stories when all of social media is turned upside down, rightfully so, by what's going on in our country. And, I think that's not something I want to gloss over either. Like, that's a significant thing that matters to us as members of the Go Shout Love team, and to Go Shout Love as a company. And, one of the goals is for 2021, right now, we don't really seek out nominations. We don't specifically try to reach anyone. We rely solely on nominations that come into our website.
Yeah.
And I would love for us to see a more diverse group of families that are impacted, because Rare Medical Journeys don't discriminate based on race. Families of every race struggle with these things. And I think based on our current following, we get nominations of people that are predominantly white. And I would love for us to see a more diverse group of families featured. And I think, that's something that I think is a goal for 2021 too. And to really think about how do we increase the number of nominations that come in for folks, for people of color.
I guess one last thing that I really kind of wanted to touch on, because I think since we are really heavily involved with social media, and it's either a really healthy thing for a community like ours, or a really depressing thing for people who are just kind of searching through. I don't really know what my question is necessarily, but how can
That's
people...
a great start.
Yeah. How can people weave through social media and be involved with more companies like Go Shout Love, who are just trying to seek and find the good, versus things that they're more attracted to, which are maybe the negative stories or the political threads or something like that. And I'm not saying people shouldn't be informed or anything like that, but social media has turned into a very dangerous place, and yet we're trying to inject good into this very dangerous place.
Yeah.
How do people weave in and out of that?
Well, I think it's a conscious choice. The output of our lives is a collection of the input of our lives. Whatever we are pumping into our brain, whatever we're consuming on a regular basis, is what drives our outlook. It's what drives our actions. It's what drives our relationships. It's a key factor in all those things. And if you are on social media and you are constantly digging into the comments and into the weeds and participating in the, election conspiracy theories or far left, this or that, or another topic that's also, divisive.
There's no shortage of divisive topics.
No, that's exactly right. If you choose to camp there, then not only is that impacting, your mind and your relationships and all those things, but by the nature of how algorithms work in social media, you're going to continue to see more things like that. You're going to continue to see content that is similar to what you're engaging in, because these platforms, they make money on advertising, and they make money when they are able to keep your eyeballs on those platforms. And so if whatever they think is going to keep you there, that's what you're going to see on your feed. And so I think it comes down to a personal choice. And I've gotten there, and both for brands, for businesses that I follow, but also for individuals. Like, there comes a point where you just have to say, I love this person, even if they're close in my circle or far, I knew them from high school or whatever. I don't think they're a bad person. I just think they're caught up in a lot of stuff that I don't have space in my life for. I don't want to choose I don't want to carry their negativity with me and invite it into my life. And so I think the snooze button is your friend, and I think the unfriend button is your friend. And you should do that. You should make those conscious choices to take out the things that are driving negativity in your life and replace them, or instead choose things that are going to help encourage you to stay a little bit more positive and to engage in more positive things. And I'm not saying that on behalf of Go Shout Love, that you should always engage with Go Shout Love stuff. But I think, as far as weaving in and out of those things, I think it's a conscious choice of of recognizing, hey, this thing is this media, whether it's social or, something you're reading or podcast you're listening to, if you don't find it helping you become the person you want to be, then there's probably not the right thing to be engaging in,
I think people would be surprised on how, slowly maybe, but over time, their outlook on things changes, or their day brightens even just a little bit.
Yeah, but especially when you're just for a lot of us, I think this year has been survive. What do we have to do to survive? And when you're in survival mode, you can take on habits and traits that you didn't intend to take on. And you can find yourself, what should be a natural choice is, oh man, yeah, I have been super negative. I have been engaging in a bunch of stuff that's just it's not good. It's not good for me, or it's not good for anybody else either.
Obviously, we are very excited about the future of Go Shout Love and cannot wait, just like everybody else, for the new year to begin. That being said, 2020 is not over yet. It is still the Christmas season, and that includes some gift shopping. I'm sure you know where this is headed. Go Shout Love apparel is a wonderful Christmas gift. Not just for the quality of the shirt or, my personal favorite, the hoodie, but for the purpose behind it. The Find Rest and Goodness shirt is now available along with other items online. Go to goshout.love and shop around. And if you are just as excited as we are about Go Shout Love and are not a subscriber, join us in shouting love every month and start your subscription today. We did a lot in 2020, and here is to looking at 2021, where we can stand out as a community and go shout love. Thank you, and Merry Christmas.